Welcome to our first panel session of the day. My name is Niwako Sugimura. I'm a data scientist in people analytics at Deloitte, and I'm really excited to moderate this panel session today. We have 4 experts in this field, and I'm gonna start by having each one of them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Akriti Chadda. I am an applied scientist at Bing. More specifically, I work for Bing Maps. And what my team does is we do the core search for location data. So if there's a query that has an explicit location in it, for example, hotels near me in Mercer Island, so my team will figure out that Mercer Island is the location and tell you where exactly you are. It sounds very trivial, but you'll be surprised how many Mercer Islands are there across the world and how we end up ranking them. Yeah, I've been at Microsoft for over 4 years now, and I'm very excited to be here. This is my 3rd time at WiDS Puget Sound, and I'm happy to meet everyone.
Hi, my name is Cornelia. I am a director of product in AI and ML at Netflix, and I also come from a Bing background. I was in Bing in a previous life as well, also on search, worked on locations as well, so there were some common threads there. In between Bing and Netflix, I had a stint at Facebook as well, where I worked on AI for integrity scenarios.
Okay. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Sonakshi Pandey. I am a senior customer engineer at Google. I don't come from a Bing background.
Not yet.
Not yet. As a customer engineer, what I do is I work with customers, I get their requirements, and I help them build applications, data and AI applications on Google Cloud. I think previous to Google, I was in Amazon where I did a similar thing. And previous to that, I was a software engineer. So I've been a software engineer, solution architect, and now I'm a customer engineer. I also, when I came in last year as a speaker, I was dabbling with multiple roles. I've been a customer engineer team lead. I've also been a product manager, but now I'm a customer engineer again. I hope I didn't confuse people. So happy to talk about transitions and stuff. But yeah, that's about me.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Tao Tao. I'm an engineering director at Databricks. So here we build products for data and AI products for all kinds of data personas, data scientists, data engineers, and data analysts. So my career is all around data. So my previous job was in Tableau, building platforms for the visual analytics. And my first job is in Microsoft, Bing. So I'm bringing back that trend. I was in their big data infrastructure for both storage and compute. Great to meet you all.
Okay, before we start, we have a few things that we wanted to note. One is that we got a lot of questions from those of you in the audience right now beforehand for the panelists. And while we are not able to address each question, I believe that the questions we are going to discuss today will address most of the questions that were submitted. And also today, our panelists will share their perspectives at a high level to the extent that they don't violate any policy of the company that they're working for. So we hope you understand if they don't go into technical details. So let's jump in. Okay, so the first question is a high-level question. How do you use or develop GenAI at work? Would anyone like to start?
I can get started.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier that I work for a core search team. So we've started to implement using generative AI on an everyday basis. At a very high level, it seems like you could potentially use RAGs, which is the buzzword which is getting used everywhere to ground your search. And that's definitely something that we do. But I do want to talk about some of the more non-glamorous things that we use generative AI for. So for example, query augmentation. If there's a query that the user has input, which doesn't really match something that we have in the data, we are able to now use LLMs to expand that query into something that might match something that we have and give the users a result that we want. Something else that we're now using generative AI is for trying to understand where the errors are coming from in the search results. So this was something that was done manually for a very, very long time until LLMs came into the picture. And of course, it took a lot of time, lots of human effort, and lots of iterations. Now we're able to build systems which use LLMs and generative AI to essentially figure out where search is malfunctioning and potentially also give us ideas into how we might fix it. So that's awesome. So I guess I just wanted to share this because we think of generative AI as this glamorous thing that is getting used, and ChatGPT being so wonderful as it is. But there's so many other smaller ways that you can use generative AI to make your non-glamorous workflows even better.
And I think the things that you mentioned as non-glamorous workflows, right? Like quality is really important. Arguably, a lot of data science and ML is about ensuring quality, right? And one use case that I've seen take off, especially at a company like Netflix, which is super focused on quality, right? Everything we do has to feel and be premium, is to use techniques like LLM as a judge to see if we have errors in kind of how we write synopses, right? Those are the little descriptions that tell you what you're going to watch, and they have to meet a very high quality bar for the Netflix experience. So that's been a massive use for Gen AI within my world. And then, I'm a PM by trade. PMs work in documents and lots of communications and synthesizing a lot of stuff. So yeah, it's been very helpful to be able to synthesize across multiple channels, multiple Slack threads, multiple emails, so that you can stay up to date better and better plugged in.
So I'm going to talk about how we use AI, like how customer engineers use AI more on a personal level. So I work with customers on a day-to-day basis. So I think one of the biggest superpowers of using GenAI for me personally is when I talk to customers, I can now go prepared with not just the information that I see online about the customer, but also some more insights on how I can actually help them out. Other than that, I love to build POCs. My coding time for creating POCs have been cut by 50% at this point. So I love building demos, POCs for my customers using GenAI. Another thing that I think most of us have dealt with or will deal with at some point is giving bi-weekly or weekly summaries to the managers. So what I do is, at the end of the day...
Oh my God, so many of them.
So I have a hack. What I do is every day, whatever stuff I have accomplished, I love to feed it into a particular project that I have on Gemini. We use Gemini internally. I do that every day. So every time my manager asks me for an update, I just tell the GenAI, in the last 2 weeks, please give me what I have accomplished. And by the end of the year, when there is a performance evaluation, I ask it to give me everything that I've done for a year. So it has made my life very, 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 very easy. I highly recommend that all of you, use it for that. But yeah, that's how I use GenAI on my team.
I'm going to add a Copilot plug here since we're talking about Gemini. So in Copilot, we don't necessarily have to build a new project. It's able to go through your emails and chats and do it automatically for you. Copilot is great.
There will be an assistant dance-off at the end of this, so stay tuned.
Selling, everything is about selling.
Yeah, definitely like echoing the trend here. So yeah, for me and for my team, it's twofold, right? Like we talked about how we can use GenAI to make ourselves or the team to be more productive, right? For writing code, reviewing code, summarizing meetings, taking notes, sending reports. Definitely like a Copilot, Cursor, and all that. Get familiar with all these productivity booster tools and make yourself like multiple times more productive. The other thing we're doing is to bring those intelligence from the GenAI, from LLMs into the product that we're building for our customers to make sure, okay, like the platform we are building is becoming more intelligent, smarter, easier to use. Things like, okay, we can give smarter recommendations, like you were saying, right? Like having like a better search results and all that. And then also to simplify the user workflows on the product, because the technical products is getting very, very complicated. Even our users are like having a hard time to navigate. So how can we make agentic workflows to make the critical user journey to be easier for them to get the value out of our product? So those are the two parts we're working on.
Thank you. So it sounds like GenAI is used in a way that users can see, as well as in a hidden way that makes your process better. And I see. So with that, the second question is, in what aspects do you think GenAI or agentic AI is overhyped? And in what aspects do you think it's underappreciated?
Okay, it's so hyped that we had to come up with a new word in English to describe it. Agentic, the hell is that, right? Somebody came up with that name. Somebody in marketing got their exceeds rating for the year, right? So yes, it is overhyped in many ways. I think the hype that I feel the most in my job is that, oh, it's going to solve for everything, right? It's going to, artist is going to automate your stuff. And it's like, dude, you've never seen an artist do their job. Like, no, it doesn't. Developers, oh, vibe coding will take your job away. Not really. Applied ML people, the mix of vibe coding and foundation models getting really good is going to take your job away. Like, it's just, I think it's overhyped in how it makes this anxiety layer cake that I think is just counterproductive and sets the wrong expectations with everybody. And I understand there's a lot of marketing, there's a lot of funding rounds at stake. And yeah, I get why it happens. And I think, yeah, the way specifically in which it's overhyped, it's the panacea for everything, right? Every time, what was it, just a couple of weeks ago, Anthropic is probably going for another round of funding, and Claude is going to cure cancer and everything, right? It's like, okay, cool, I get it, it's going to contribute, but like, use the precise language maybe a bit more. So yeah, that's the thing that rubs me the wrong way in the hype.
Okay.
I would love to build on that. So definitely, AI can do everything. Agents can do everything. I feel that is super hyped. And the reality is human in the loop is always required. And it should always be required as these systems are getting built and they are maturing. Then another point that Cornelia mentioned was that it is going to replace all jobs. It is replacing so many jobs in so many sectors and fields. And there's actually a study which was conducted by, and I might misspell stuff here, but I'll try to get the numbers right. So there is a study by World Economic Forum that says that by 2030, there will be 85 million jobs that will be displaced. But the same study also says that it will create 97 million more opportunities. So I think that the aspect that is hyped is that jobs are getting displaced, replaced. But what is not hyped enough is that it is also creating new opportunities in this field. So I think that needs to be called out. And other than that, another point that Cornelia mentioned was copying the work of artists. Like we had this Ghibli trend that happened a few weeks back. Everyone was creating Ghibli portraits. And it actually took the original creators years to perfect it, get it right. And AI did it in a matter of minutes. So those issues, the bias, the discrimination, the security, I know this question was about overhyped, but I feel behind all this hype, these are some considerations that are not spoken enough about. So yeah, I think those need to be addressed as AI systems are getting built and matured.
Yeah, I totally agree on all these points. I think functional-wise, it's very powerful and developing fast, but it's still like, have a long way to go on these things, right? So for me, the biggest gaps are on the non-functional requirements, like you touched on this a little bit. So things like security. With AI, your attack vector is completely changed, right? Like how can you deal with the new vulnerabilities in this like attack surface? Another thing is governance, like where's the observability, where's the auditability, how do you know like if it's compliant, or do we even know what we want them to be compliant to? And then the other thing is like the standard and the ecosystems, right? So in order for some technology to really take off, you need multiple tools and a product to work together. For that, you need the maturity in the standardization, in protocols, for the landscape to really work together. So I think those things are yet to come. If we look at the past foundational technologies like SQL, web technology, public clouds, mobile, they all take 10 to 15 years to mature on these aspects. Well, and if you look at some other things, like blockchain, I don't think it's really reached that maturity yet. So I think GenAI will follow the same path. Yeah, it's not today, but I think it's coming.
Did you want to add anything?
I think they covered most of the aspects, so I think I will leave it at that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay. So the next question is about the difference between traditional machine learning versus GenAI solution like LLMs. What's the difference in terms of building it and after it's shipped?
I can take that. We just went through, I guess, almost 2 years ago, this major shift from using traditional ML models to everyone being like, everybody has to use GenAI in the systems. So I think the biggest difference is that when we were building traditional ML models, I'm going to talk about it in a search scenario because that's what I work on. When we were building traditional ML models, we were building it for a very particular use case. And we were building it from scratch. So you had to figure out what data you're going to be using, how you're going to be cleaning up the data, which takes up a lot of time, of course. What kind of a model will you be using? The evaluation metrics for machine learning models are very well defined. So you can pick one of those metrics and then track it over time and see how your model is doing. And then once you ship the model, your work ends. You can maybe retrain the model a couple of times a year, depending on what your use case is. Maybe you can do it a couple of times a month. But you retrain it and then you are done. That's where it ends. I guess that's not where it ends. You ship it and then it ends. With the era of generative AI that we are in, that's where the work actually starts. Because shipping the model is easy. There are very general use models that are already available. There are pre-trained models. So the work is not so much as to how you're going to train them, but is how you're going to adapt it to your use case. So that's where the fine-tuning comes in. Now, there are some large models, depending on the work that you're doing, you might be able to use something that's very off the shelf for your use case, and that's amazing. It's very easy to ship it, and that's why there are so many new companies that are popping up, because you can vibe code your way through the application and then just ship it and the users can use it. But that's where the real work actually starts after shipping. You have to figure out where the biases are coming in. Is the model hallucinating? How do you fix the hallucinations? How do you actually evaluate the model? Like, evaluation and measurement, I think, is such a big thing, and it's getting studied, and there's so many studies that are actually coming out. Is how do you actually figure out whether the model is doing what it's doing? Because the traditional ML evaluation metrics don't necessarily apply to generative AI models. So it's about how you build the user trust. Do the users like the answers that you're building? Is the model hallucinating in a way that you don't want it to? How do you fix them? I guess that's where the real work starts. And that's what I think is the biggest difference between traditional ML and generative AI models, that there's a lot of work that goes in before shipping the model in traditional ML use cases, and a lot of work that continues to go on after you ship it when you're using GenAI.
I might piggyback on that because I maybe slightly disagree with the idea that in traditional ML you kind of did your evals before and then you kind of stopped. I think eval continues to be important, even with LLMs and VLMs, especially for high stakes scenarios where you deploy them. You still want to test the hell out of them beforehand, right? As much as possible, sandboxing, doing things offline as much as possible, right? So eval continues to be important, at least in the use cases that I've that I've played with the most so far. I've incubated the most, and even with sort of what we would call traditional ML, right? Like, look, we've done computer vision for a while, right? In the industry, eval and customization and fine tuning, right? Transfer learning were super important concepts in that field too before we got VLMs, etc. So I don't know. I see things as a continuum of increasing complexity in eval and model lifecycle. That's how I'm internalizing the evolution from traditional ML or predictive analytics to LLMs and VLMs. I only think that the evals have increased in complexity. How you deploy something at scale in a scaled use case and scenario has also increased in complexity and risk at the same time, because you no longer have a finite taxonomy that you might be predicting. You now have kind of a wider range of response types, responses, and risks that you're dealing with. Yeah, That's how I've seen it.
I think you both killed it with the answer. I'll just I'll give more of a customer perspective on what I've seen customers. How's the shift I've seen customers with traditional ML versus Gen AI? What we've seen is with Gen AI rising and growing, the demand for chips, GPUs, TPUs, like most of the cloud providers have their own chips that they provide, or they have good partnership with chip providers. So the demand for chips has gone significantly high with more and more Gen AI getting built. Then you must have heard this quote that your Gen AI models are only as good as the data that is there. So with the growth of Gen AI, we've seen customers getting more taking data analysis, data engineering more seriously, putting in more effort with ensuring that the data is curated, there are no biases, they try to eliminate discrimination as much as possible. And the third thing is that building Gen AI is costly. Customers do invest time, energy, money into building that, but it may or may not always yield the results that they'd expect. So maybe in some cases, customers are happy with the results. In some cases, the investment of resources is just not worth it. So it's kind of a hit and miss. It was not a hit and miss with traditional ML. It was straightforward. But with Gen AI, that's what I have seen with most of my customers.
Thank you. Tao, did you want to add anything?
I never worked in traditional machine learning, so probably I will skip. But I just want to say that definitely, I'm an engineer, right? Like I do see with the revolution of a Gen AI, it's just get connected with the other disciplines more than before. So yeah, I think that's my observation.
I see. So it sounds like the generative nature of Gen AI might be creating more challenges after a tool is shipped. And also in terms of hardware, like chips, that's different from traditional ML solutions. So the next question, it's been brought up a little already, but what new skill sets or mindsets do people in the data science industry need to thrive in a Gen AI-driven landscape?
I want to piggyback off of something that Sonakshi answered in the previous question. I was listening to it and I'm like, that is so true. I think as data scientists, applied scientists, whatever, we're so tuned to getting precise results, and we are so obsessed with precision, and that needs to change. LLMs are inherently probabilistic in nature. You don't necessarily know what they're going to spit out, and we're very used to deterministic models, and something that you were talking about earlier, that we know how to evaluate them, we know what to do with them. If something goes wrong, there's well-defined steps on, you go back to the data, you go back to the model parameters, you go back to how you have been training the model. But with Gen AI, all of those things are changing. So you sort of have to get used to the wavery, the fuzzy nature of it all and adapt to it. The other big skill is, I think, patience. I think we're so used to being like, okay, the pipeline's going to run and I'm going to have a model that I'm going to be able to evaluate. That's not necessarily the case anymore. It's a very long pipeline. And then just forget building systems that use generative AI. I think we touched a little bit about productivity and using generative AI tools. I think the learning curve is sort of steep for some of these products to use them the way that will make you extremely productive. And sometimes we get so bogged down on, this is working, let me just use my systems the way that they are and not introduce something that I have to learn. And I think just being patient with that learning curve and using how to use Copilot, or learning how to use that deep research tool, learning how to, having that system of putting your meetings daily or putting your work daily into an agent is going to make you so much more productive in the long term. So I think it's a little bit of mindset shift, both in terms of building Gen AI, building systems using Gen AI, and also using Gen AI to become more productive.
because I'm going to contradict you for a second time, it's going to become a pattern now, right? So I agree with what you're saying. I have maybe a slightly different take as well, because while I appreciate that there's many use cases for GenAI for many scenarios, and we have to adapt to the fuzzy, unpredictable nature of it in some way, I also think that in a lot of cases that you were asking, what's the skill to develop? And I think resilience and pushing back and understanding how to frame ROI for when you add GenAI and when you don't. And within Netflix, we sometimes use this idea of the hammer of Thor for a little nail that you're trying to cling to the wall. Do you really want to use Mjolnir for that? Or should you use something that's, traditional ML that's cheaper, faster to run and to debug? Okay, if it is, and the ROI makes sense, use the thing that it's a tool in the arsenal of what data scientists and ML practitioners have. It's another thing. So get really good. It pushes against the hype, right? And use GenAI for everything. Well, no, use GenAI where it makes sense and where it matters, and how you judge that is with a really clear ROI framework. What does it take you to do it? What are the risks? And then what's the benefit?
I'll piggyback on something that Akriti said earlier. So the way I like to think about it, and I actually, when I was thinking about this answer, is when I actually thought about this line, is that I feel no matter what field you work in, if you're in healthcare, legal, retail, if you want to be at the top of your career, at the top of your game, learn to coexist with AI. Definitely acknowledging Cornelia's point on use it where it makes sense to use it. But I feel that it just makes you more efficient. So a lot of times when I talk to some of my non-technical friends, I see a lot of overwhelm. I sense a lot of overwhelm saying, hey, I'm not technical enough. I don't think, I'll understand that. I don't think I will know that. So I feel that is a mindset shift needed, where you need to be more welcoming. You need to be more open to learning. You need to be more curious and truly see how exactly you can use GenAI in the field that you are. And I think once you make GenAI your friend, you will actually get more productive and start seeing results. So I think that is one way. I think other points you folks pretty much covered with respect to mindset shift.
Yeah, totally plus 100 to all folks are saying. So I'm in engineering. So you guys know that there is a lot of fear and uncertainties on, is this job going to be gone? So, I mean, you definitely need to learn new things because GenAI just gonna become another foundational tool you need to learn, like another language. You need to learn this new thing. So coming back to my two parts of how we're using it, right? I think definitely look out on how to be more productive with GenAI, because the world is moving that direction. Everybody just gonna become more productive. If you don't evolve with the trend, then you will be left behind. This is true like many years ago, right? If you don't learn how to drive, then you cannot go far. You just get limited. So I think that's one thing. And then the other thing is to say, hey, can I bring this value into my product, to basically disseminate the power of GenAI to more people that are in my impact circle. Everybody has their own impact circle, right? Through your network, through your product. Just try to say, hey, how can I be a force multiplier to bring that to the people I can impact, the society I can impact. If you are in a for-profit organization, then that's just gonna give you more business opportunity. If you are in a for other purpose, hopefully that just bring more success in other fields. I also want to add one thing that. I studied computer science. I never studied it in data science. But with GenAI, I feel like, okay, it's new for everyone. Many people are still learning. I actually feel this is the opportunities to level set that everybody can learn from scratch. It's not like, oh, somebody is worked on database internals for 20 years. I cannot match that. It's not like somebody worked in Cisco for 20 years who established all this G4, G5 standard. I cannot match that. But GenAI, I think everybody has a shot to be innovative and be an expert on that.
That is so true. I definitely want to echo that. You no longer have to get a degree, because like when generative AI has come out, most of us are already in the field, we're working, and all of us are learning and adapting with GenAI as it has come through. There's very few PhD students right now who might be in the field and, you know, working on generative AI. So that's absolutely true. We're all, like, it has level set the field, and we're all starting at the same point. Absolutely.
So I'll just, something just struck me. So it was funny, like when ChatGPT blew up somewhere 2023, 2022, it was a new buzz and everyone was trying it out. People were excited. And some people on LinkedIn updated their title saying Gen AI expert. And I used to come across these people that they're Gen AI expert. And I used to ask, how? This just released. How are you already an expert? So yeah, that's...
They read the Transformers paper.
Maybe, yeah.
It's all you need.
I would like to add one more point about the mindset shift thing. So I think one thing that does not get called out enough is the responsible AI piece. So all of us could either be, using Gen AI, so we could be consumers, or we could be developers, or having some kind of influence in the development of Gen AI. So I feel it is each and every person's responsibility, no matter you're a consumer, you're a user, you're a developer, you are a manager, you're a director, or maybe you are working for the government who oversees all these initiatives. So I feel everyone should take the responsibility to ensure that whatever power they have in their hands, in their current roles, they exercise, control in a way, or like build AI in a way that they do not, if they see that the AI is being biased, if the AI is discriminating, if the AI is giving self-harming answers, do not push or do not, advocate for those systems. And speak up if you feel that the AI has such problems, even as consumers. So I remember some time ago, ChatGPT was, it had become very optimistic, and it was supporting different things that people were saying, and it was also supporting self-harm. I read an article that said that. So I feel as a developer or as in any capacity, if you see something, say something, and play your part in developing it responsibly.
Thank you. So Gen AI creates a great opportunity for everyone, but at the same time, it sounds like we should be critically thinking about whether we need it, and also if we're using it ethically. Well, thank you. So we actually have some time for an additional question. This was taken from the questions that were submitted. So we have been talking about new skill sets or mindsets. But this question is about what are impactful projects to work on? What are impactful projects to work on in this space that show skill and stand out?
I'll go ahead and list a few ideas. So I feel if you can build a project with RAG, some kind of a enterprise knowledge-based system that answers, like that takes in natural language queries and provides answers from the companies, some fictitious companies' documents, knowledge base, blogs, then I think that will be a great one to have on your resume. So build a RAG system. I think second one is a very unique project that I thought of doing myself, but I never had the time to do it. Hopefully you folks will. So what you can do is you can choose different models, like a TensorFlow model, PyTorch model, you can choose whatever you want, but try to see if you can run benchmarks by running the model on NVIDIA GPU, Google TPU, AWS Inferentia chip, or some other chips that I'm missing out. So what will happen is the moment these different hardwares go on your resume and the moment benchmarking goes on your resume, you'll get a lot more exposure. So I think that will be a great project. And other than that, if you can build some kind of agent that is making people's life easier, like something that helps people plan vacations, something that does customer support or something. I'm just blanking out on ideas. But yeah, I mean, build agents. So 3 projects, a rack system, a benchmark on different AI chips available in the market. And the third one is, what was the third one? Agents, yeah, build agents, any kind of agents.
I do want to plug in vibe coding here. I came across vibe coding. I follow Andre Karpathy on Twitter. He's very active. He puts out some really nice tweets. So he put out a tweet saying he built an app in under an hour from scratch through vibe coding. He had some music on. He was talking to one of these LLMs. And he's like, it was something, but pure vibes. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. So my husband works in the field as well. And this one evening, my husband and I have a 14-month-old son. So we put him to sleep. And then we were hanging out after dinner. We'll usually be watching TV or we'll talk, whatever. This one day we decided, okay, let's just vibe code. That's what we'll do. So we dimmed the lights. We took out our laptops. And we started vibe coding. And like, honestly, like I came up with this idea that I have, and then I came up with the wireframe. You literally don't have to do anything anymore. Like you prompt in English and then you tweak it in English. And I came up with the wireframes for my app. And then he helped me come up with the API for the app. And then we started doing how would the chatbot look like? What do we want it to answer? What kind of a RAG system would we build? And like I guess we spent like 2.5 hours just vibe coding. Like it didn't feel like work at all. It was actually fun. So when it comes to projects, I feel if there's something that you're truly interested in, just vibe code it out. It's not as hard as it used to be, and it will definitely help like perk up your resume, but also your skills. Like just in that process of vibe coding, you're going to come across things that you will learn. You will probably ask ChatGPT or Claude to explain it to you, and you'll come out with like a better set of skills.
Anyone else? If not, we have some questions. We have questions from the audience, and one of the questions is, if there are more jobs created than eliminated, what advice do you have for upskilling so we keep up with the skills needed for future job opportunities?
I think upskilling, what comes to mind is take courses, see the latest, like keep an eye on latest industry trends. And like, I know, it is going to displace jobs, but it is also creating more jobs. So truly think, okay, let's say, for example, if I'm working in healthcare, how can I solve a problem using GenAI? Like if you can get innovative, if you can apply what you've learned through these courses to your actual field and build something, then I think you will slowly start upskilling in whatever capacity you are currently. So take courses, read blogs, stay on the top with the news, and truly see how you can apply it in your day-to-day life and make something bigger and better.
I dislike the word upskilling because I don't know, it infers that, I don't know, you're downskilled somehow. I don't know, it's just a weird word. I think of it as, when I have these conversations with folks, there's one skill that seems to emerge as super important, and that is being able to evaluate your system. And I think the folks assembled here today, because of your mostly data science background, right? You already have that intuition, that skill, that craft of handling data, knowing what's good, what's bad, and knowing how to evaluate good and bad across scenarios. So I think that becomes significantly more important, whether you call it an agent or assistant or just a model. Eval becomes more and more important in my mind. And I don't know if it's an upskill rather than leaning into a thing that I think this crew already has been crafting in.
Okay.
Oh, I think Tao might have something.
Yeah, just to quickly add to this, so definitely like continue your learning at any point of time. Like learning, if you feel like you are learning something new or like going out of your comfortable zone, that's probably a good sign that you are getting better every day. On your job, on your career. I would just add one more thing is that, okay, so the landscape gonna change, right? Like if there is something you want to run into, then maybe pursue your passion as well. Instead of being defensive on, okay, I might get displaced or not, maybe just explore and say, hey, is there anywhere I want to go? And I can proactively go to that place. Maybe that's something to consider as well.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a few more questions here, and I'm probably going to combine them because we're almost at time. How do you balance learning new AI tools and getting your tasks done? And also another question is kind of like close to this idea is what about people who are concerned with data privacy? Are they going to be left behind in new AI world? And yeah, how are you keep up with tech trends? So
How do you keep up with?
So what do you use to, or how do you keep updated on tech trends?
I'm signed up to, I'm going to start like the last to the first, because that's how I remember them. So for tech trends, I'm signed up to a bunch of newsletters. Tech Brew is one of my favorite newsletters. They send you like a very short newsletter in the morning with a bunch of things that are going on around the world. There's a few more. There's one just called the AI newsletter, whatever's happening. I think that's weekly. Any new companies or like startups that have gotten funding, any new technology that is floating around. So I'll just have it at the back of my mind. It's not like I spend too much time reading these newsletters. It's just that I don't have to go fishing for content every day. I glance through it. It's in the back of my head. If something I find interesting, I'll probably go and read more about it. I can go, click on the link. As far as keeping myself updated in terms of tools and how I balance my time between work and learning all these tools, is I honestly try to use as many tools as possible at work. So I have a very open communication channel with my manager in terms of the compliance and legality of it all. So what are the tools that we can actually use and what kind of information I might be able to put on it. And more often than not, of course, I can't put my work data or company data on it. But I'll try using it for things like if I had to write a piece of code that doesn't deal with data at all, if I wanted to experiment with what function might work better, if I want to talk about what features for a model might work better, if I have to compare two features. So that works for like code generation, but also we were talking about learning using these tools. I do want to plug for the Google LM notebook. I'm just going to say it's pretty good. We don't have anything like that. Notebook. It's Notebook LM. It's free for something that you might want to read, like a paper, or you wanted to go through maybe a textbook. You wanted to summarize a YouTube video that you were watching, but you don't have time to watch like an entire hour and a half worth of the lecture. Notebook LM is great. It lets you paste links or upload all of these files. And then it condenses it for you. You get a summary, but you also get a podcast that you can listen to while you're driving, while you're walking, complete your steps while you're listening to a podcast. It's usually a 2-person podcast. It's great. It gives you the summary of what you need. And then you're able, it has a chat box that you're able to question, like, what does it say? And then summarize it for me, whatever you want. And it'll give you all of these details. The only difference between, say, using this and using ChatGPT is that it's only grounded in this data. So if something is not mentioned in the data, it's not going to go out of its way to find that information for you off of the internet. But it's great if you don't have ChatGPT Plus because it's free and it still does what it needs to do. So yeah, I use Notebook LM a lot to read a lot of the new papers, because new papers are getting churned out at an insane rate, mostly because now people are able to use LLMs to write papers for them. But also because the technology is evolving so fast, and if you want to stay up to date, I would use, if you want to learn about generative AI, you start using generative AI to work for you.
All right, let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Thank you for the amazing panel.